back to my channel. I am Siobhan for anyone who's new, and in today's video I'm going to be creating a bridal look for you. I've been getting loads of requests for bridal makeups lately, as it is, I suppose, bridal season at the moment, and this is really the kind of look that is for girls who want to wear noticeable makeup on the day. It's not for the girls who want the super uber natural, like no makeup kind of makeup. This is for the girls who like the definition, who generally wear makeup all the time themselves and they want to feel how they always do or look how they always do, so they like that definition. They like, you know, the strong eyeliner and stuff like that. Now I already have my base and brows done. My brows haven't changed from the last makeup tutorial I did, but basically I have the Prolongwear waterproof brow set by MAC in them, and this is brilliant for bridal work because it is waterproof. If there's sweating, if there's any kind of moisture at all, it's not going to move, and it doesn't really smudge either because it is that little bit more budge proof. So this is brilliant for those days. And then I am wearing a sample. Where is it? A sample of the new Prolongwear foundation by MAC. I don't even know the proper name for it because there was another Prolongwear foundation that's been discontinued, and this is the new one. So let me know what you think. I am actually quite impressed with it so far. The foundation colour is lovely. In Studio Fix Fluid, the NC15 is ever so slightly too yellow for me. This is the NC15 now in the new Prolongwear foundation, and I really like it. It is a perfect match for my neck. I'm really impressed with that so far. I've been wearing this actually for about an hour because I did my face earlier on, and it's already sitting really well on my face. I haven't powdered yet because I will do that after the eyes, which is what I would generally do on the morning of a wedding anyhow. So I'm going to start with the eyes. Now when I'm doing bridal work, I would nearly always do or use a primer underneath my eyeshadow. One of the primers that I'm absolutely loving lately is this guy here by MAC, and it's the Prep and Prime 24-Hour Extend Eye Base. So this guy lives in my kit, and I'm actually working off a sample that I got a while ago. So I tend to apply this with my fingers, and I apply it to the moving part of my lid mainly. I would usually, which is what I've already done today, just use concealer and then just a translucent powder on my brow bone. It can be good to press some of that there onto the inner corner as well, especially if you're going to use a highlight there, because it will grab onto anything you put on over it very well. One thing I should say as well, just before I get onto the eyes, is prep for the skin. I did use a illuminator. This is the Buff Makeup Movie Star Sheer Glow Lotion. I love this, and it's not going to be too obvious when you put it underneath your foundation, so you can probably just see I have a nice little bit of a glow there coming through the foundation, and that's to do with this. And I nearly always use a under eye primer as well. So this is one that I use very heavily in my kit. It is the SMASHBOX PhotoFinish Hydrating Under Eye Primer. Now I love this because it just helps to hydrate any little fine lines and blur the look of any, just any kind of texture issues you might have underneath the eyes, which most of us, you know, over the age of 30 have. And this is what I've used today. This is a new one to me now. It's the Garnier 5-Second Perfect Blur Eye Primer. So I was dying to try this out, and it seems to be very similar to the SMASHBOX. I haven't used it for very long yet, so we'll see how it goes, but you can use this on the top lid but also on the bottom lid. Now for my eyeshadow, I'm actually going to use this ISADORA Colour Eye Bar again. Now I know I did use this in a recent tutorial, but in all the videos that I've kind of had makeup on that I created with this, so many of you have been asking for, you know, tutorials for that look. So this is going to be an eye look you might have seen me wearing, but again it would be something I could easily apply onto brides. So here, this second colour in, it is so lovely. It is a lovely kind of very lightly pearlescent highlight. It would be very similar to Serum, so I will give you MAC references going through this in case you know, you can't get your hands on the ISADORA colours. And I like this because it's not too shiny. It'll reflect just enough light, particularly in photographs. I like kind of that more kind of pearl or satin finish rather than a high shimmer. I know some makeup artists avoid shimmer altogether for the eyes for bridal work. I don't. I think you can definitely use light reflective formulas as long as you don't go overboard and you're careful with placement. Now for my brow bone, I'm actually going to use this one, so it's a little bit less shimmery again. It would be like one step up from a matte, and I'm going to very lightly press that over the brow bone Now some brides do opt for a much more light reflective highlight on the brow bone, and that's absolutely fine. That's what I would generally do if I'm more matte all over the eyes. It's nice to have a little pop of something up there. Next I'm going to pop this colour here. So I'm not sure what this is like in MAC in MAC even. I would say maybe Vex. And I'm just going to use my fingers, and yes, sometimes I do use my fingers for eyeshadow. This goes on fine with a brush, but this is a very sheer eyeshadow when you put it on with a brush, but when you use your finger it really goes on much stronger, which is what I like. And it has just a very, very subtle mauve undertone to it. And if you want, you can go back in with your highlight and just pull it over onto that colour. This is a ZOEVA brush, by the way. It's the 232 shader. Then moving over to the blending brush, which is the 227. I'm going to go into this colour here, which may be something like maybe Swiss Chocolate by MAC. I'm having trouble saying that. And then I'm going to work that into the crease. And if you can see there, I'm really working it into the, into the hollow of the crease. And you want to get as much of the colour laid down there before doing your windshield wiper motions, because at least that way you're not going to have a huge amount of colour then going where you want it. And I do make sure I apply enough onto the outer corner as well, because that'll really help give you the definition you're looking for in photographs. Now, I always leave it up to the bride how high they want to go with the eye. I will usually start fairly low down, and then if they like to go up a little bit higher, I'll leave that up to them, because that's usually something that, it's usually very personal preference. And then of course it can also depend on the lid space available. But just because a bride has a load of lid space, don't take for granted that they want to use it all up with eyeshadow. So I would definitely leave that up to the bride. To a certain extent. If they're not sure what to do, I will just kind of make the executive decision then and let them know what I think would work best. So very light pressure on the brush. I'm really just blowing out that colour. I'm not really adding it anymore. I'm just blending the edges. And then underneath the eye, I might go back into this guy. So this is our flat shader brush. Using the very, very tip of the brush and tap off excess. Because I would normally have the base done, the foundation done, I always tap off my eyeshadow brush. Run that along the lower lash line. Some brides again will opt for no colour underneath the eye. I like a little bit of colour under the eye. Not very dark, but just a light shadow. I think it can be really, really, flattering. I find sometimes slightly older brides may opt for a much cleaner look underneath the eye, and I can understand, that's no bother. Again, it's all tailored to the individual bride. And then just to deepen out the crease ever so slightly, go into a darker brown. This would be maybe slightly closer to Mystery or something like that by MAC. And you're not going to go over the whole entire brown that's already there. You're just really working it on into that very, very outer corner. So it's just making it that little bit more intense. So into the outer V. And just to finish off the eyeshadow, another thing that I like to do sometimes, particularly with brides who don't want to wear eyeshadow or mascara on their lower lashes, I will go in with an angled brush. This is the 317 by ZOEVA. Pick up the darker of the browns and very, very lightly press it into the lash line for maybe the outer third or so. Again, this would be tailored to the individual's eye shape and that, but it can give a nice bit of drama, definition. Now, so many of my brides, I'd say the majority of them opt for the kind of, what would you call it, the really defined black eyeliner over the eye. Now, I do generally use MAC's Fluidline, but for this video I'm just going to use this guy. Now, I love this, but you can't really sanitize it, so that's why I don't usually use it on clients. So let's just pretend that I'm using the MAC Fluidline, and you know, a brush, but it would be the exact same way that I would apply it. So I would start in the center of the eye. And the reason I use Max Fluidline is because it is water resistant, it's fairly budge proof, it's very black, and of course I've loads of control over the application because it is a pot gel eyeliner, so it's up to me what brush to use. And I would usually use a very fine tipped brush like this that I would get from the art store. So I tend to not go all the way into the very, very inner corner. If you bring the eyeliner right into the inner corner, you will find a lot of the time that it'll smudge a bit by the end of the day or even after just a few hours. So by, you know, leaving it out a couple of millimeters, you'll help, you know, stop that. And again, it'll be up to the bride how thick they are happy to go with the eyeliner. One thing I don't particularly love doing is using eyeliner, liquid eyeliner underneath the lower lash line. So I nearly always, like 99% of the time, will avoid that. And then when I get to the edge of the eye, I just follow the angle from the bottom, you know, my lower lash line, and flick it up. But again, this will be tailored to the individual bride's eye shape. And you wouldn't generally go too big with a flick for the day. But something like that could be absolutely fine. I'm actually really impressed with how well that came out, considering I'm like miles away from the mirror. But anyhow, I'll just do this one quickly off camera and then come back to finish off the rest. So that's as much as I would do with the eyeliner and the eyeshadow. Now, time permitting, there is the odd time, depending on the eyes that I'm working on, I may tightline up underneath the you know, up underneath the top lash line. If you are to tightline there but you don't particularly want anything down on the bottom lash line, which can be a pain to wear anyhow on a wedding day, because it just means you have to like kind of keep a closer eye on your makeup, say, for topping up. But just use a like transfer proof, waterproof eyeliner up here. So something like the Makeup Forever Aqua Eyes is great for that, or even the Rimmel Scandal Eyes is quite good for up there as well. So yeah, and I would generally try and just keep it more in the centre because it's more likely to transfer either side, where your eyes can get a little bit more wet. Now for mascara, I'm going to use the Extended Play GigaBlack Lash by MAC. Love this. It's a tubular mascara, so it's water resistant to cold water. So if you do get a little bit teary, it won't run or anything like that or smudge, but it will come off with warm water, you know, later on that night if you want it to come off. Whenever you want it to come off. So this gives a really nice kind of natural, you know, it gives a bit of definition and lift in that, but it is quite natural, depending on how strong you want to go with the lashes. Now I know a lot of brides go for false lashes. I probably personally wouldn't on the day. It depends again on the lashes. I'm just saying, like, if it was me getting married, I probably wouldn't go for false lashes. So I will point out, this is the kind of makeup I would wear if I were to get married. It's the kind of makeup I'd be very comfortable in. And then of course you can apply a little bit of this onto the lower lash line if you want. I tend not to go very heavy on the lower lash line with bridal work. It depends on the bride again, but I do like to put a little bit just on the outer corner maybe, especially if they're fair. And make sure it is waterproof if you are going to do that. Okay, so I just touched up a little bit of my under eye concealer. This is what I used earlier on, and it's one of my favourite concealers to use on brides at the moment. It is the CLARINS Instant Concealer. It's actually one of my favourite concealers on myself at the moment as well. It's a smoothing, long-lasting concealer. Great for longevity. I really do love how it looks on the skin, how it lasts and everything. It has you know, such good colour payoff or pigment payoff for considering it's not very, very heavy. Then what I've done so far is powder this side of my face, because I've got a new favourite powder, which I don't know if actually, I don't think I've mentioned it yet, but it is the NARS Translucent Crystal Light Reflecting Setting Powder. And you do want your bride's, you know, face to be matte, as in no oil coming through, but you don't want it to be totally flat either, and this is lovely for that. Now, just to let you know, this doesn't flash back, even though it is a slightly luminescent powder. It's really weird. There's almost no texture to it. Like when I go like this, it sounds rough, but there's like nothing coming off my fingers. But I don't know, can you tell? It's just taken down the little bit of like shine here that I get around the nose, but it's still luminous, and it kind of keeps just me looking like this all day. It's really, really good. Now, if you're worried about flashback, don't be. I've done a little test here for you so you can see this is just how it looks now without a flash, and this is how it looks with a flash, with just one side of my face powdered and the other side not powdered. So the side that is powdered looks just a little bit brighter. It doesn't look white and flashbacky or anything like that. And when I did buy it, the girl at the counter promised me that it doesn't flash back, so that's really good to know. Now I'll just lightly press it onto the rest of my face. I tend to use small brushes for powder. I don't love to use loads of powder if I can avoid it, and I don't love to use big brushes because I just feel like I have very little control over where I apply my stupid phone, but I don't feel I have a lot of control over where I apply products when I use very, very big brushes. A lot of my brides would opt for a bit of contour, so it's up to the bride or not. Now, I applied a little bit, I should have told you before, if I can find what I'm looking for, before I powdered it, or when I did my base earlier on rather. It's the ILLAMASQUA Hollow Cream Pigment. So I just applied a little bit of that into the hollows of my cheek using my Real Techniques 300. It's a blush brush, but it's tapered, so it's actually really good for that. So it's really, really natural contour. I won't go overboard with contour for bridal work. Again, I'll do whatever the bride like insists on, but I'll, you know, try and photo friendly and like day friendly as possible as well. And then I just used my number 200, which is the flat eyeshadow brush, to apply it just down the sides of my nose. I like this because it's sometimes more natural, than using a powder, contour. So for cheeks, I think my like most used blushers for what am I trying to say, for bridal work would be like Warm Soul by MAC and Dainty and Blush Baby and those kind of things. And I do love them, I have to say, but I would personally probably go for something like this as well on myself. And this does look like a lot of those MAC pinks as well. So again, tap off excess, you really don't want too much. And then lightly brush onto the cheeks. I find some brides are like, yeah, more blush, more blush. So I tentatively apply it because it's much easier to add on than it is to try and do damage control and clean away once it's on. So I personally would be happy with this amount. This is more than enough. So I'm going to leave it at that. This is, did I say this is Gentle Touch by ZOEVA? I think I did say that. Something like Dane by MAC would be similar. Then for my highlight, I'm actually going to go back into the ISADORA colour bar. I do like a bit of a highlight. Very, very lightly applied. You don't want too much, so I'm going to go into that second one. Just on the very, very highest part of the cheek. Nothing too crazy. Always get your model or your bride or your client to relax the face. You don't want to create any expression lines when you're applying light reflective formulas, because otherwise they will show up. And then this first one here, because it's not as obvious, I'm going to put just very lightly down the centre of my nose and onto my Cupid's bow actually. Now for bridal lips, I always use a lip primer. Now I'm just going to use my Sally Hansen one on me because it's the one I use personally. I use the MAC one generally on brides, or I've been using the Urban Decay one recently, which I really like as well. This Sally Hansen one has been discontinued as far as I know, so it would be either the MAC or the Urban Decay that I would recommend. You put it over the entire lips like a balm, and then lightly over the lip line as well. The reason you extend past the lip line is because that's how it prevents feathering, because it's that barrier a little bit past the lip line. I'm going to use this lip liner by L'Oreal. It's one of the lip liner Coutures by Colour Riche. This, it's a lovely light pink. Now, I do use MAC very heavily in my kit. Sometimes, like the ones that I normally use is like Boldly Bare or Subculture when I'm doing a very natural lip, and I know they've just released a load of new lip liner colours, but I haven't really had a chance to check them out yet. But sometimes I find Subculture can be ever so slightly too much on the peach side, so sometimes I look elsewhere, and this is a really nice, slightly more pink kind of toned one. And I will always check with the bride before I attempt to do any overlining. A lot of brides will opt for a little bit of overlining, particularly on the top lip. And a lot won't as well, so. Personally, I would, so that's why I'm going to do it today. This is in the shade 630 Beige Nude. It's obviously French, so I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's that lovely light natural kind of pink. And then I'm going to finish it off with some Angel by MAC, which is a lovely light like nudie pink, but it's not too neutral. It does have enough of a pink tint to it. And then of course when I work on brides I would use a brush, and this really helps me to perfect the shape, and I feel like it just keeps it in place a little bit better because you're really pressing it into the lips. And always make sure you're getting that inner corner, because you know, a lot of photos will be taken on the day of the bride mid-sentence, and you don't want a gap either side of the lips. And then once your bride is finished and you've done all touch-ups and then she's happy with how everything looks, I will nearly always finish off with a setting spray. If someone's on the extremely sensitive side, I usually won't, but generally they're dry anyhow, so the makeup will last quite well. I'm just going to use RoseWater, but let's pretend it's an actual setting spray. I would generally use the Makeup Forever one or the Urban Decay one. Either of those are brilliant. And I have the Model in a Bottle one as well, the matte one. So that's my slightly more dramatic bridal makeup. Now it still is a bridal makeup. It is still very bridally, but you know, it has the strong defined eyeliner, the slightly stronger brows, and the little bit of contouring that you mightn't go for, that not every bride would necessarily go for. But I just wanted to do this to kind of illustrate the fact that not all bridal work will be that supernatural look. And you know, for brides out there who are a little bit scared of asking their makeup artist to do a stronger look, don't be scared, because we'll do whatever you want to tailor yourself, but we will do it with photographs in mind and that kind of stuff. So I hope you like this, guys. I will leave a full list of products below. If you have any questions for me, let me know. I know it's a slightly longer video, but I think when you're talking about bridal work and stuff like that, you do need to say why you're doing stuff, because it's not just about plonking makeup on your face. There has to be reason behind the products you used and the longevity of them and stuff like that. So if you, like I said, if you have any feedback, leave it all below. If you're new to my channel, feel free to subscribe. I do upload at least 3 times a week, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. So thanks a million, guys, and I'll see you on my next video. Slán!